Well, I got my Big Red in my creepy cup. I got my new knife here, and we're about to spoil the shit out of Halloween 2018. Let's do this.
He's waited for this night. I've waited for him.
Oh God, what's up, guys? Wow, this movie. First off, I dropped my review on Thursday night, which I usually don't do, but for Halloween, had to happen. Currently, it's sitting over 11,000 views. Thank you so much for that. I really think that's awesome. I appreciate the support you guys give me, that you even care what I think about Halloween. It's amazing to me, still amazing to me. Thank you so much for that. But if you remember in that review, there was so much that I could not tell you. I even stressed that a few times throughout because I wanted you guys to go into this and just be completely surprised as I was. There were some crazy things going on in this movie, unlike any other Halloween movie in the past. And currently, right now, Halloween 2018 sits at the top of my 2018 list. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I did not expect that. I was gonna rate this movie accordingly. I was gonna critique it fairly, but I didn't think it was gonna top Mandy because I thought it was just gonna be another Halloween slasher. It's my heart, that's my franchise, but I'm still realistic. It surprised even me. It topped the list. And before we get into this, look at all these beautiful people right here. In Killerflix, I stated that if you go see Halloween, post a picture of yourself with your Killerflix t-shirt, Drumdums t-shirt, whatever, at the showing, and I will put it right here, which is what I did. And I didn't expect to get this many people. That just goes to show the caliber of people we have in Killerflix. It's a community, you know. We're like a family. It's so awesome, and I just wanted to take the chance to show off these great people. And also Victoria Rasmussen, one of the many talented makeup artists in Killerflix, actually. She did this pumpkin makeup that you see right here, which looks amazing, and I had to show that off. But we're getting into the spoilers real quick, but first off, I want to tell you guys that right now I'm recording a brand new Halloween ranking that will include Halloween 2018, and I'm also doing 31 on 31. CP actually brought this idea to me, Cody Leach, Brian Lomax, and Lindsay from Mother Mayhem. All of us are going to rank all of the movies from the big three. 31 movies from Michael, Freddy, and Jason, all the franchises. And it's going to be a long, nice list, but that's going to drop on Halloween Day. So look forward to that. But anyway, let's get into this spoiler review. I'm not going to give you a plot synopsis. I already did that. If you want to check out the original review, you can check that out right here. If you haven't seen this movie, do not watch this. Watch my first review first. More Big Red. Okay, so when I went into this, I was wondering, are they going to start with the credits, or are they going to start with just an opening scene? Are they going to start with kind of a flashback from the first movie, which would have been interesting, maybe from a different angle? But they started right at Smith's Grove. You have the two journalists that they want to meet Michael Myers. They're so obsessed with him. I tell you, they started this movie off with a bang. That scene where that journalist is walking up to Michael, and you had the barrier line around him, the perimeter line, and I like the way David Gordon Green set up that scene to where when his foot barely steps across the line, you get this sense of how dangerous Myers is. Everybody around Myers starts making noise, and he pulls out the mask and he's trying to get Myers to speak. That's really what he wanted to do, because this is a guy that hasn't spoken in 40 years. And even I thought that, they might have Michael say something or make a noise or something like that. I'm glad they didn't. But then the credits start. Boom, just like that. You have this heightened chaos. And then all of a sudden at the crescendo of it, boom, we get the credits from the original movie and part 2. And boy, did chills run down my freaking spine. This is something that I've wanted in a Halloween movie pretty much my whole life. If I'm being honest, after part 2, they didn't do it anymore. So, which is, I wonder why they didn't do that. Maybe they didn't have the rights to do that from Trancas, but Trancas had a big part in this movie, and they did it, and it was cool because it was like a deflated pumpkin, and as it inflated, the credits were going, and it reminds us that, hey, he's back. That's pretty much what that pumpkin symbolized. But then after that, we get into the Smiths Grove Sanitarium. We are introduced to Dr. Sartain. This is a character that is highly interesting, highly controversial. A lot of people that did not like this movie pointed a finger directly at Dr. Sartain. And I get it, I understand. I think people wanted him to be more like Loomis. Now, I don't want to speak for other people. I think there's probably a variety of different reasons why people had a problem with this character. I actually enjoyed him. I thought it was interesting that this is a doctor that's just as obsessed with Michael, even more obsessed with Michael than Loomis was. So much so that he wanted to know what it felt like to kill somebody. You know, so far that he literally hits Michael with a car and puts on the mask and wants to, you know, have that feeling, kills somebody. This was the point in the movie where, you know, I'm gripping my seat the whole time, and then that happens, and I'm like, whoa, where are they going with this? Like, is he gonna assume, you know, the killer position for the rest of the movie, or, you know, are we done with Michael? Glad they didn't go that way. You know, he picks up Michael, puts him in the car. That was an interesting scene too, and I know I'm jumping ahead quite a bit, but because I'm talking about Sartain, I'll add this in there. What was interesting about that scene was that, you know, Michael was pretty much out, and then there was this trigger. You know, he mentions Judith, Michael's sister, and then all of a sudden Michael just comes back up. Myers was such an interesting character in this movie. You know, I guess that's a good transition into Michael. More than any other Halloween movie, maybe even more than the first, I found Michael as a character so goddamn interesting in this movie. And I think a big question can be, who was Michael's target in this movie? Because even from the get, even though we know that Laurie's not Michael's sister, still I thought she was his target. And then as you're watching the movie, you realize that she's not really Michael's target. And it's kind of up for debate what his actual target was, or if he even had a target. You know, the thing that set him off was the mask. And, you know, once he gets out, it's almost like he just wanted to get back to Haddonfield and do his business. That was it. And eventually he was kind of led to Laurie, coerced to Laurie. You know, he didn't seek Laurie out. She kind of brought him to her. And that just ties right back into the first movie so well because, and quick shout out to Drewski McGillicuddy, I'll give him credit. I saw that he did a video on this, but this is something I've always thought that nobody ever talks about. The scene where Laurie Strode is dropping the key off at the Myers house in the first movie. People don't really talk about that scene, but that is what set Michael off. He just wanted to go home from Smiths Grove. He's just sitting there waiting in his house, and then Laurie walks up and to get the key, and he sees her, and then boom, that is his target. And this was kind of the same thing. He wasn't really seeking Laurie out. But also, David Gordon Green and Danny McBride did things with Myers in this movie that that have never been done in the series before. You know, first off, how brutal he was. This was a Myers that did things that surprised me. You know, that first kill that he has, or one of the first kills with the young child that says he's going to be a dancer. I didn't expect him to kill that kid, but he doesn't. Not only does he kill him, but it's pretty violent, actually. And so this really set up Michael as a character as far as how dangerous he is and what he is capable of. And, you know, really later on in the movie, when you have that one take shot and he's going in, he grabs the hammer, he kills Mrs. Elrod, comes back, grabs the knife, comes through. As he started approaching the infant in the bed, that's when I started really getting scared. Like, is Myers going to kill an infant? It could happen. You know, I've never thought that before. But because of what David Gordon Green set up with that kill, it wouldn't have surprised me if Michael just walked by and killed the baby. And thinking back on it, I'm glad he didn't. You know, I guess that just goes to show that there is still a little bit, just a sliver of something in there. Or maybe, you know, who knows why he didn't kill the infant. But really, he'll kill anybody that gets in his way, and maybe that's what it was. Maybe the young child he felt like he was in his way, whereas the infant, he was not a threat at all. But, you know, really all the kills in this movie, there's a good variety, but I want to talk about the bathroom scene. I didn't really talk much about it at all in the spoiler-free review. That probably shook me the most out of all the kills, because First off, you know, it's the H2O style kill, but this is the way the kill should have played out. I felt bad for those victims, and I rarely ever feel bad for victims in any slasher movie. You know, it's just part of the fun. I guess it was the performances or just the way David Gordon Green directed the scene, you know, with he's slamming the guy's head up against the wall over and over, and it just felt real. You know, it felt like you were a fly on the wall in that bathroom and you were watching a heinous crime happening. And Myers didn't even have his mask on at the time. And I love how, you know, David Gordon Green just shows like little flashes of his face, but not really. And then he hangs the young girl, and it's just heartbreaking almost. Now, one of the complaints that I do hear from some people about this is the use of comedy in the movie. I really didn't have a problem with the comedy in the movie at all. Was it perfect? No. Did the dad take it maybe a little bit too far with the comedy sometimes? Maybe, but not really to me. I mean, I didn't feel like it messed up the flow of the movie. You have serious movies that are still going to have light comedic moments in them. Zodiac is a great example. Zodiac is a very serious movie about the Zodiac killer. It's like 3 hours long. There's tons of comedy in that movie that, you know, it feels natural. That's the way I felt about this movie. And as a matter of fact, the kid that was babysat by the young blonde girl, I thought he was hilarious, actually. And it was a nice way to break the tension because, you know, like I've said earlier, I was literally gripping my seat, was not even paying attention to my snacks throughout this whole movie. So those nice, tender moments it was kind of cool, actually. I know some people have a problem with comedy in their movies. I do too, to an extent. If it's something that's just not, it's annoying, then I don't like it. But I didn't find it annoying at all, and I didn't think there was too much of it, actually. I thought for the most part, like 95% of this movie was pretty damn serious. But you got the one kid, he's trying to hook up, and then he runs to the fence, and then Michael just like, he stabs him, and then he's found later with his face like impaled over a spike, which kind of reminded me of Hell Night a little bit. But then from this moment, this is where the movie really kicks in. Laurie Strode's granddaughter, played by Andi Matichak, as soon as she sees this kill, she starts taking off, running from Myers. The music that is playing during this scene by John Carpenter, it was unlike anything I've ever heard, but it was a little bit similar to the first, but I was literally just getting chills. It was some of the most interesting music I've ever heard in a Halloween movie. And I think if you've seen the movie, which you have, if you're watching this, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I literally wanted to stand up and like cheer during that scene. It was just so badass. It just goes to show how important music is in horror movies. And I think this movie had the best use of music I've seen in quite a few years, actually. Okay, now let's talk about one of the most controversial scenes in the movie. The one thing that people that really don't like this movie or just had a big problem with certain parts of it, this is the scene that I hear the most, the ending. One of the things I hear is that it wasn't long enough, which I think it was actually longer than the final act in the first movie, really. I think there was a lot to play with in that scene. There was a good showdown between Laurie and Michael. Michael was brutal as hell. That scene where she's like against the door and he grabs her through the door. That is one of the most vicious scenes I've seen with the character of Laurie Strode ever. Like, I literally thought that he might kill her in that scene because he's like crushing her head against the door. And this wasn't the first time. Even later in the scene, he throws her against a wall and ends up throwing her out over the balcony, which was such a cool scene. You have Myers standing at the top of the balcony looking down at her, and then what? She's gone. That was pretty badass, actually. It was like the roles were reversed, and it was just a really shining moment for Laurie Strode as a character. You know, she's not giving up. She's not going to quit. She's going to come right back at him. Goes right back into the house. Laurie Strode was such a badass in this movie. Now, this is like what I've been waiting for with that character for so long. I liked her in H2O, but I loved her in this. Now, just to talk about Judy Greer, I guess as far as that last scene is concerned, she's one of the characters too that I was pretty skeptical about from the get before I saw this movie. But I actually liked her in this. You know, she was really resistant to Laurie Strode's plight throughout the whole thing. So much so that it cost Laurie her relationship with her own daughter.
I need to protect my family.
You have no security system, Karen.
Mom, you need help.
And so she was always fighting against this because she lived this whole life of preparation, kind of like John Connor. And eventually she just got sick of it. You know, after 40 years, you're going to get sick of it. But then all that training, all that preparation came into play in that last act. If she didn't have that training, then she wouldn't be able to defend herself. And that fake out scene, when she's downstairs and she's acting like, you know, she's a damsel in distress, and then as soon as Michael pops into frame, she's like, gotcha. That was badass. Now, could that ending have played out differently and I might have liked it more? Sure, I think it could have. I think it would have been cool if Michael would have killed at least one of the girls. But ultimately, to me, it was just so satisfying, just because of how intense the whole last act was. Let's face it, Myers trapped in that basement and those three girls looking down at him. I wasn't surprised. I mean, I think they wanted to do this in a way that A, they're not going to kill Michael, and B, Laurie's going to come out looking like a hero. Now, I've stated in the past that I wanted Laurie Strode to die, but after watching this movie and getting invested in her as a character so much, by the end of the movie, I didn't want her to die. And I think that is great storytelling. That is great character development. And I have to give all the credit to David Gordon Green and Danny McBride for, you know, making me love Laurie Strode again. That was awesome. And they left it wide open for a sequel, guys. Come on, he's not dead. They didn't show him burning. He's Michael Myers. He can probably punch through a wall. He was a freaking force. And that's one thing I didn't mention too, by the way. You know, another question was, Michael Myers is 60 years old in this movie. Is that going to be a factor? As soon as he stepped into that bathroom, to me, he was a force. His age was the last thing on my mind. All I could think about was how much I worried for Dana, you know, the girl that was in the bathroom. And I knew that she was in deep, deep, deep shit. So anyway, guys, that's it. I'm actually going to see this again today. So looking forward to it. This movie has not left my mind since I walked out of the theater. And I just wanted to sit down and give you guys a good, thorough spoiler review. And I don't even need to give you my rating because I did that in the first review. But if you're curious, it was Trapped on an Island. But anyway, post down in the comments your thought. Spoilers galore. Post any spoilers you want below there. And you know, if you haven't seen the movie, I'll put a pinned post at the top letting people know that, hey, there's going to be spoilers galore. So talk spoilers all you want, guys, in the comments, and we'll get a good discussion going. Anyway, guys, be sure to come over to Killer Flicks, where we talk horror all day and every day, and on Fridays we do Free For All Fridays. Follow me at Drumdums on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, and now Stardust. If you like what I'm doing, hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Drumdum out.